I'm looking outside my window.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Apologies for the little break in content. I should be back for good now. I feel like I say that every time. I've never had like a good few weeks worth of content go up on YouTube. It's always been like bits and bobs. But I have a new little series for you for camp and Camp America. I have decided to not go back this summer. There's a couple reasons why. I think the main reason is career opportunities that have come up that I would be silly to say no to, some family stuff, and it just, I don't know, I just really wasn't into it to go back. I think potentially next year, maybe as in 2025, but it all depends on where I'm at. However, I obviously have done it, I have the knowledge of what it's like, so I thought there's still a point in me sharing and giving you guys my advice and my experience. Everyone's experience in different camps are going to be different, but at least I can share my experience with you. Before I get into it, if you didn't know, I went to Camp Chit, which was in New York. It was amazing. It had like anything and everything a kid could ever dream of. I was a specialist slash general, so I was the social media specialist, but then I was also a general, but I think realistically I was more of a specialist than anything, but I had a general day off. But I'll explain all that in another video. I have everything written down of like right from when I left, and the first thing we did right to flying home. So let's just get into it. On your visas, you will have 30 days to travel. I got lucky and I actually had a bonus 10 days on mine because my contract ended up ending 10 days earlier than it was due to. Not because I got fired or anything, it just did, because I didn't end up doing post-camp or anything like that. So I was very lucky in that state. But however, I did technically leave the country and then come back in on an ESTA during my travels. So I think that way my 30 days had ended anyway because I left the country and came back on an ESTA. So I'm not entirely sure how that works, but just to be on the safe side, stick to the day that you are due to go home. So I was very lucky with my travels. What I actually did was I put together a little list of everywhere that I wanted to go before I left to go to camp. I didn't book anything. My number one thing is do not book. Do not book to go on anything until you get to camp and start making your friends, because your friends will all start discussing like, oh, should we do this and should we do that? And if you've already booked it, you're going to feel a little bit left out and you're like, damn it, I wish I was going with them, you know, because they're the friends that you've just spent the last 2 months doing everything together with. So I would, if I was you, what I did was I came up with a whole list of everywhere I wanted to go. I did the research on all of those places, how much it was going to cost me to stay there, should I get an Airbnb or hostel or a hotel, how I was going to get there, what there was to do in the area, how safe it was, and just put it together in my notes. Like, it didn't take me long. I spent a Sunday doing it. And then if I saw a place on TikTok come up, then I would just be like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then I'd have a little look into it. But I did not book anything. I just had an idea in my head of what everything was going to cost me if I was to do that. That way I knew what I could spend on doing fun things. Like, some of our days off were to the mall at camp, so I didn't want to go to the mall and spend a bunch of money if I couldn't, and then I'd get halfway through my travel and be like, oh my goodness. So yeah, if I was you, I would put together a little list of everywhere you wanted to go. I did do this, and I think I ended up going to quite a lot of the places I hoped to go, which I am so grateful for. However, there were a few places I didn't end up going. We kind of, in my head, I was just going to do this like huge circle, including Hawaii, and come back. And then that all changed, and I'm not upset about it because I went to saw places that like I didn't think I would be able to go and see, if you know what I mean. I kind of split up my travels, so I travelled with my friend Lily, who I made at camp. She was the gymnastics specialist, and we travelled for about 10 days before she went home, and then I then met up with my now boyfriend and some of our friends that we also made at camp, and travelled basically with them until I flew down to Florida, and then I'll get into all of that. So at camp we had a day off in New York City, which was so much fun. You can do so much in one day. Everything is pretty much walkable, or if you're not into walking, then you can just get on the subway. And if you're like me, so for me, I'm used to getting on the underground in London, so like it was fun. The subway was so easy to use. We did go the wrong way, but like I don't think we were paying attention. Once we got into Brooklyn, we then got further into Brooklyn, only about like 3 stops, and I was like, oh wait, this is going the wrong way. So we got off and changed, but like, it's okay. So we spent 2 nights in a hostel in New York. It was basically the other end of Central Park, which was fine because for us, we walked. We didn't mind. We walked everywhere. So we basically walked the entire length of Central Park like both mornings to get to where we wanted to get, which was fine. But our friends had a hotel literally like 10 minutes away from Times Square, and there was 4 of them in the hotel, and split between them it ended up being cheaper than our hostel. So it kind of was a bit like, damn it, like you've got a better location, you're in a hotel, and it was a nice hotel, which was a little bit like, oh man, we could have got a hotel. But, you know, whatever works for you works. There is so much to do in New York, but like, you can do it all in 2 days. One of the things I did this on my day off in New York, and I then again did it, I'm sure we did it. I could be wrong. I'm sure we did it when we travelled in New York, but I did a 10-kilometre bike ride around Central Park on our day off, which was actually so much fun. It is hard, okay? Once you get to the other end of Central Park, there is like this mountain you have to climb, I swear. And you're like, oh my god, like I was quite fit and I had to get off and like walk my bike up it, but it was actually really fun, and it was kind of a nice way to like spend quite a hot day, but like not too hot. We were in little summer dresses as well, and it was fine. And it was quite a nice way to kind of see more of Central Park than you probably would have walked to see. So I loved the little bike ride. It was so cute. But some of our friends went and saw a show, which is such a good idea. We didn't. I've been quite lucky where I've seen quite a lot of shows on the West End, so I wasn't overly like, oh my god, like let's go see it, because there wasn't really anything on that was like only available in America, if that makes sense, like on Broadway. I mean, I'm a massive Hamilton fan. Like, if I could have gone and seen Hamilton, I would. But there was other things that we wanted to spend our money on, so we didn't. But our friends did, and they had a great night. We chose to do Top of the Rock because you got to see kind of everything, including the Empire State Building, and I think that's kind of more fun. And it's an amazing view over New York. I think it's slightly higher than the Empire State as well, so you kind of see a little bit more. But yeah, it wasn't too expensive either, to be honest with you. Like, it was probably one of our most expensive things that we paid to do activity-wise, but it was kind of worth it because the memes, you know what I'm saying? We're going to get on a ferry to go to the Statue of Liberty, but then we saw it and we were like, you know what, like, we can see it from here. Is there any point in paying to get on a taxi, little water taxi to go around and see it? And then we were like, no, I'd already seen it. Lily was like, you know what, I'm not bothered. So then we saw the Statue of Liberty and we walked all the way to One World Trade, which I say all the way, it was literally like 10 minutes. It's quite a nice walk as well, it's not bad. We walked to One World Trade, and then from there we walked to the Brooklyn Bridge, where we then walked over the Brooklyn Bridge, which was so much fun. I have like such cool pictures on the Brooklyn Bridge, which I'll try and put around. Then we found this really cool spot to take pictures underneath the Manhattan Bridge. I'm pretty sure we saw some of our friends from camp at the same time, and then some of our other friends literally took a B-reel, and they must have been like 10 minutes behind us. It was crazy. This is all in one day, by the way. We've done Top of the Rock, Brooklyn Bridge, the World Trade Center. Yeah, then from there got on the subway and went up to Central Park. We'd obviously been to Times Square that day, seen the Statue of Liberty. Like, when I tell you can do all this in one day, you really can. We also did Grand Central Station, which, top tip by the way, if you have an Apple phone that's running out of battery, any Apple store you can go and charge your phone. So Grand Central had an Apple store in it. So random, but we went and charged our phones for ages because like they were dying on us because we'd just been like taking pictures and using it for maps. So top tip, go and find yourself an Apple store, charge your phone for free. One of our favourite times we went out for dinner was Ellen's Stardust Diner. Again, I've done this 3 times now, I think. I love it. I'm a massive musical nerd. So much fun. In a nutshell, that was New York. I feel like I went on like a million tangents, but New York, it's a must. I feel like everyone goes to New York, and it's quite common for your camp to be in New York. Not obviously in the city, but a lot of my kids were from New York and stuff, and our co-counselors that were American. So yeah, would highly recommend if you haven't been before. After New York City, Lily and I flew on down to Washington D.C. We flew everywhere. Lots of people got like the Greyhound buses or did a road trip, but Lily and I flew everywhere, and then again, like, I just got on an airplane every new destination. Washington D.C, sign me up. If someone has said to me, I'm sorry, we're going to take all your money, but you're going to go live in Washington, D.C. I don't mind. I will go and live there. I loved it. Felt so clean. There was so much to do there for free. Basically, everything with Smithsonian in front of it, so all the memorials, museums, the zoo is all free. Like, you don't have to pay to do, like, so much in Washington, which for travelling, fabulous. We stayed in a hostel, which was actually really, really nice. We had a couple girls come in and out, but we didn't really speak to them. I think we spoke to one girl who was a backpacker from Australia who was really cool. But it was lovely. It was like a hotel room with just like 2 random roomies. It was very clean, very nice, and the location at first we were a bit like, oh, but we would walk everywhere. We really did not mind a half an hour walk to get to somewhere. So for us, we walked to Georgetown, we walked to you know, where all the memorials are and the White House. We walked to the zoo. It felt like it was a really, really nice little location for us. It had a pool, which was like crazy. A hostel with a pool, which we didn't actually go in the pool. I think I might have dipped my toes in or got like waist deep or something more, because I was just so hot that I was like, I need to like cool down. The worst thing for us in Washington were the bugs. Take your bug spray. It was the only place where the bugs attacked us. And that was Washington. Like, it was awful. I had these like huge, both of us were walking around with these huge like lumps all over us from bug bites. There was a point where we were like, wait, do we have bed bugs? But we did. It was just the bugs in the air, because a couple people that we spoke to were also like, what is with the bugs? But everywhere else was fine, and I don't normally get like eaten alive, so it was kind of a bit like sus. But take your bug spray to Washington, that's for sure. Georgetown was incredible. Like, I would live there. The walk to Georgetown from our hostel as well was stunning. It felt so safe. There wasn't any point in Washington where I felt unsafe. Like, Lily and I would literally walk around at night, not really knowing where we were going, trying to get back to the hostel, and there wasn't really part of us that was like, sus. Like, we were fine. Memorials, of course, are free. We went and saw them a couple times, like in the day, in the evening. I can't remember how long we were there for. I think it was another like 2 or 3 nights. Basically everything was 2 or 3 nights. But yeah, I loved Washington. We mainly spent most of our days either wandering around Georgetown, looking at all the memorials. We didn't manage to get into any of the museums because we didn't realise you had to reserve a ticket, and they kind of kept selling out, and we were a bit like, we're not overly bothered about it, to be honest. It's also a really cool area because obviously the White House, I totally forgot the White House was there. Like, we went and saw the White House, that's crazy. There's just constantly all these like big like helicopters and planes coming in and out, very low as well, which is kind of really cool. Lots to see, very clean, and would highly recommend. I think it was one of my favourite places I actually did go. I loved it. Next up, we flew on over to Nashville, which was unreal. Like, basically, I swear everyone from camp just decided to randomly meet up in Nashville over these few days. We had the time of our lives. I will say, don't go unless you're 21. The only thing to do in Nashville was to drink and go into the bars, and if you're not over 21, it's going to be incredibly difficult for you to do anything there. There are shops, you can shop, which is kind of nice shopping. There's like this really nice open like shopping area. I did buy cowboy boots. If I've got a picture, I'll put it here. And I literally, it was like my highlight of the time in Nashville. I loved it, and then I like wandered around Nashville in my boots on that last night. Instead of getting a hostel or a hotel, because there were so many people from camp going, we just all got big Airbnbs. Ours was so cool. We had like the top floor of our Airbnb, and we had this like rooftop terrace thing, which was so nice. Basically what we would do, we wouldn't get back from the bars until like 4 in the morning, which with a 6-hour time difference, so my parents would be like getting up and my mum would be like, are you in bed yet? And I'm like, nope. And then we would just have like a really lazy day. Lily and I we got our groceries, because I think we were there for an extra night compared to everywhere else, but I could be wrong. We did a little grocery shop, so we had like food and we didn't have to worry about like paying to go go out. The buses in Nashville are super easy to use. They literally go in a straight line. We did have a miss our stop. They don't stop at every stop, so like you have to like pull down to come off, and if you don't really quite know your bearings, you're like, oh wait, we've just gone past it. So we did our little food shop. Didn't cost too much. We just bought like some cereal, a pizza and pasta, just like super easy stuff to cook, because it was just made everything cheaper. Like the buses are super easy, and so like I think the bus was $1. You have to like download an app and then load up a card, and the minimum you could put on was $5, but each bus journey was $1, so it was like super cheap. Nashville, to be honest, was just all about drinking and bars, so if you're not over 21, obviously the age difference, I wouldn't bother. But it was good fun and I would like to go back, but I think I would go back with like my girls. I wouldn't go on like a family holiday there or anything, it's not like that. And there are things to do, it's just, I don't know, you couldn't get to them very easily, but it was fun. It was very hot, like ridiculously hot. But yeah. Now, one of my favourite places I've ever been in my actual entire life, sorry, Charleston. I will live there in a heartbeat. Oh my god, I know I said that about Washington, but if Charleston came up first, count me in. We went to Sullivan's Island and Folly Beach. I think we did Folly Beach first and then Sullivan's Island. Sullivan's Island I think was my favourite, just because it had like the little walkways like to get to the beach, and they were just so like wholesome. Lily and I were about to go get lunch and we literally sat on the beach and I was like, wait, and I could see dolphins swimming in the sea, and I was like, oh my goodness, my life is actually complete. Like, what? It was incredible. The sea was like it was really warm, but it was like also cooled you down enough. It wasn't too warm. However, the waves, I'm a massive scaredy cat when it comes to like getting in the water, so for me I was like, okay, Lily isn't. Lily, like, she did not care. I was like, Lily, we're too far, we're gonna get eaten by a shark. And I did really well, which for someone that was really scared. I got in like like up to here, and then this almighty wave came out of nowhere and just wiped us out. Lily lost her sunglasses. I was like choking. It was burning my nose, and we were just like, I'm done. I've done my day in the sea, you know, let's just go back to sunbathing where it's like, alright. Then we were like, right, we're gonna stick it out. We were there all day. We were like, let's stick it out for the sunset, let's stick it out for the sunset. Guys, you have to experience the Sullivan's Island sunset. Oh my goodness. Like, I'll put my pictures up here as well. But honestly, it got to a point where we were the only people on the beach as well. We had this whole beach to ourselves, and it was just amazing. The only thing we were worried about is then when we realised there was all signs about coyotes, and we were like, oh, are we gonna get eaten by a coyote? But we didn't see one. Instead of a hotel or like in a hostel or anything, we actually got an Airbnb, which was adorable. It was like this little like complex of 4 apartments, and we had a bottom floor apartment. We had our own bedroom. It had been the first time in over 2 months that either of us had our own bedroom, and it was just so nice. Had our own little kitchen, so again we did a mini little food shop, and cooked some food. I think we had like spaghetti one night, and that was about it in the end. I love Charleston. It's absolutely beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. If you don't know where it is, it's in South Carolina. But I would highly recommend it. It is a bit more expensive out of everywhere. It's slightly more expensive, and it's a bit more tricky. You can't really directly fly there. We had to fly into Atlanta. I did not like Atlanta airport. It was so busy. And then also then fly into Charleston and then all the way back. Sunset swims and incredible food. It felt very healthy as well, which was nice. We had like Caesar wraps, and I know, it was just good vibes. You do have to Uber to the beaches. You can't walk there because you have to then not... It's a bit strange. I didn't really expect to have to do that. I guess I didn't do enough research. You do have to Uber to the beaches or drive. There's a bus service, but we got so lost. We ended up so far away from where we needed to be, so we ended up just having to get an Uber. It's a very teary goodbye to Lily. And I was like, bye queen. And I can't believe we still haven't seen each other. But... then I flew on down to Orlando, and before you think we went to Disney and all that, we did not. I flew on down to Orlando where I met my now boyfriend, shout out to Bill, and I met up with Zach, Ben, Kelly. I'm trying to remember like who was actually there. Matthew joined us later on. I think that was everyone. And then we stayed for one night in a hotel. I'm getting to the good part. And we got up at 3 a.m. because we watched the most insane rocket launch, like manned rocket launch. It was so loud, oh my goodness. Like if we hadn't got up and knew what it was, I would have thought like we were under attack or something. But it was so much fun to watch that. But we were up bright and early the next day because we went on a cruise. We went on a 6-night Caribbean cruise, which was unbelievable. It cost us $500 and something all in. I didn't pay a single penny more, which was just so like insane to me, like that I could do that, because once you're on the ship, all your food is included, all your activities are included, barring like excursions. Obviously the destinations are included, your room's included in that. Like honestly insane. We did it with Royal Caribbean, and again like a bunch of people from camp just decided, alright, let's go on a cruise. So again, I think there must have been about 30 people from camp had all gone on this cruise, which was like insane. Everywhere you went, you're like, oh my god. So that was so much fun. When we got to our room, we had 4 single beds, which was great because it was me and 3 boys. Love that for me. So we had 2 bunk beds, but obviously like 4 single beds, and it was perfect. It was so good though because the food was unreal, but like at midnight you could just go up where our room was. We literally, it took us 2 minutes to walk up some stairs and we were right by like this little pizza place where we could just get pizza. I didn't have to pay for it, obviously it was included, or desserts. And if you're hungry, you could just go up at any point in the night and just go and get yourself pizza, and it was so good. And the slices of pizza were like huge. We went ice skating on the ship. There were game shows where you could get involved. There were ice skating shows. There were other shows that you could go watch. There was a comedian, magic show, both of them. They weren't very good. There was a nightclub, and you couldn't drink unless you were over 21, but you could go in the club if you were over 18, so that was fun. And we had a silent disco on the first night. There was obviously a spa, pools, a gym. I went surfing on the ship. They had one of those surf machines, climbing walls, water slides, a full-on arcade. Like, it had everything, okay? It had everything you could ever want to do on this one boat, and like all included in the $500 and whatever dollars, which just to me is crazy. So our first stop was Haiti. I've written it all down, guys, don't worry. Haiti was, oh my goodness, never did I think I'd ever like go to Haiti. Like, it was incredible. But the thing about Haiti, and this goes for the Bahamas too, is that everything that was on the ship, so like all your food basically and all your entertainment wise, they literally just took it off the ship and put it on the island. So you didn't have to then go and pay for food, because everything, all the food, like the buffet on the ship, then got brought onto the island in Haiti and the Bahamas. So you didn't have to worry about like paying for stuff, because you didn't pay for stuff, it was all included because it was the same food. There was live bands playing, which was so nice. It felt such like holiday vibes. There was little shops, and there was tons of excursions, all like for all of the destinations. We just chose not to do them because we couldn't afford it basically. We went to Jamaica. Jamaica was okay. I think the port that we went to was one of those where there wasn't really a beach. You had to get on an excursion or in a taxi, but all the taxis were a bit like iffy. There was like a solid 15 of us, I think, that went into the town, and all of us were uncomfortable. Half of the group stayed out and decided to explore. The half of us went back to the ship and just stuck out on the ship. It was really funny though, but because of like obviously being on a boat and stuff, you have to pay for the Wi-Fi, and none of us wanted to do that because it was so expensive. But randomly in Jamaica, there was this one shop in the port that had free Wi-Fi. So there was just like this huddle of teenagers, well, we're not teenagers, like young adults, surrounded by this one shop, all like calling their parents or texting their friends or whatever. So loved that for us. I think I was on FaceTime for my parents like an hour because I hadn't spoken to them in so long properly. But that was so cute. So Jamaica was okay. It wasn't great, but it gave us an opportunity whilst everyone, I guess, was off the ship doing excursions to go and kind of like enjoy the ship's amenities a little bit more. And our final destination was the Bahamas, which was one of the best days of my entire life. It was at their private island, Coco Cay, I think it's called. It was literally unreal. It was so good. There was an entire water park, which they didn't explain this to you, but you did then have to pay extra to go in the water park, which was actually like dinner over here, so it was like $80 or something each, and we were like, what? No thanks, like, we'll make our own entertainment. There was actually water slides on the ship, you know, so it was a bit like, do we want to pay that much? No. Again, all the food was included though, they just brought the buffet like out onto the island. It was nice. I sunbathed. I am a massive scaredy cat of the sea, and I was sat like, I'd say like shin deep. I was sat like on the side, on the beach. I was sat in the water a little bit, and all these little fish would not leave me alone. I feel like they just kept coming at everyone. I was like, I didn't mind it, they were little fish. But then like I could hear people, oh my god, did you see that stingray? Oh my god, did you see this? Did you see that? And I was like, that's really cool, but that freaks me out. So I was like, I'm not gonna go any further. The boys tried to drag me in, and I was like, guys, no, it's not happening. Because it is their private island, there was this humongous pool, one of the largest pools I've ever seen in my life. And they had this insane DJ, and there was like a swim up bar, and we just had this like crazy pool party in the pool. It was like mind-blowing. I'd never experienced anything like that in my life. It was so cool. Insanely cool time. Getting off the ship was kind of emotional because we all knew that it was the last time we were going to see each other. So there was lots of tears, lots of goodbyes. Because the thing is, you do make friends with people from the UK, but then you go and create these insane friendships with people that live in New Zealand or Australia or Spain. Like, they live all over the world, and you're just like, alright, goodbye. And lots of teary goodbyes. But it's bittersweet because then you're like, okay, on to the next place, where we're going. So then we went to Houston. Houston was a bit of like there wasn't really a whole lot to do. It was Labor Day weekend, so for us there was a bit of like things kind of closed earlier. It was like a bank holiday weekend, so things weren't really happening because it was Labor Day. But I will say, it felt okay. Like, the city felt safe. Where our hostel was, it was a little bit iffy. But the hostel was nice, it was fine. We went for a really nice breakfast, which was lovely. Street art's really cool in Houston. There's like this whole area dedicated to street art, which is really, really cool. But that was about it. There wasn't really anything to do other than just kind of walk around and have a little look. So yeah, I don't know if I would recommend going to Houston. There really wasn't anything to do. If I had a car or more money, I would have gone to see the Space Center. I've done NASA in Orlando, but I haven't done NASA in Houston. But if I had more funds, and as a group we had more funds and stuff, then I think we would have probably been able to do that. But it just wasn't walkable or public transport. It was going to be a very expensive Uber there and back. So yeah, it wasn't my favourite place, but it's cool to say we've been to Texas. Okay, and then the last trip I went with my camp friends was New Orleans. So New Orleans, we were there for a little too long. That was basically, we were there for, I think we were there for like 5 nights or something. And it was okay, but there was like, you only need 2 or 3 nights there. It was more of a point where our friends left 3 nights in, and then my boyfriend and I stayed for an extra 2 nights. We were going to go to Atlanta, and then it was just so expensive to try and fly somewhere else. So at that point we were like, let's just stick out. Like, we'll just stay here for longer and have a nice time. At this point for me as well, I knew I was like less than a week away from seeing my parents. And I just got a bit restless, and I was like, I just want to see my mum and dad at this point, because I had loved every second of it, but that thought in my head of like, I literally have this many days. I'm counting down the days now until I see my mum and dad. Like, I haven't seen them in 3 months, which the longest I'd never seen them was 2 weeks, and that was because they went on a holiday and I was at home, and they like they'd gone on a cruise for 2 weeks. That was the longest time I'd ever gone, and that was literally the same year, like last year. So 3 months away from them was huge. Like, I was not ready for that. It did take me some adjusting, but we'll talk about that in a whole nother video. So yeah, we stayed in a hostel, which was unreal. We had a private room because there was 4 of us, and the private room was huge. It was actually insane. And then we were there for 3 nights, and then my boyfriend and I decided to get an Airbnb for 2 nights instead of staying in the hostel. We did a swamp tour, which was so jokes. Like, it was so much fun. I ended up getting myself a free top out of it because I was wearing white. I was wearing a white t-shirt, and then out of nowhere the heavens just opened and like we all got drenched, but I was wearing this white t-shirt that immediately went see-through, and the guy that was running the boat tour was like, I can't let you go home like that, so he gave me a free top and he was like, you look freezing. I was like, I am so cold. Then my New Orleans was like 38 degrees, but for some reason where the swamp tour was, it really wasn't as hot. But we learned a lot and it was actually very interesting. We saw tons of alligators. I ended up FaceTiming my dad whilst I was on the boat because he loves alligators. Like, Dad, like, oh, this is so cool, and he was like, oh my god. So yeah, that was cool. Beignets, I could live with beignets, they were so yummy. There are insane outlets. Be careful, I spent so much money. I can't stop myself from shopping, so I decided to, you know, buy everything I saw. However, I will say, Zach and I, one of our friends, we went in the Levi's store. I bought a pair of Levi's that I've been wearing like every day since I bought them. Flared Levi's. $18. I'm sorry, what? That's unheard of, so you gotta love American outlets. You can get on a riverboat that literally takes you to the other side. There's like a little island, which is really cute. It kind of feels a little bit abandoned. There's like no one. There was like no one there. It's full of houses, like people obviously lived there, but it was a bit sus. But it was cute. We did a horror tour, which I was dreading. I was like, can't believe you've like roped me into doing this. But actually, like, it's more historical than like horror, but they do tell you about like the way people would like get treated by their, like, they would treat their slaves, and this place is supposedly like a murder scene and stuff. You're like, oh, okay, and then you go back and you Google it and you're like, I thought you were making it up, but it's actually true. But it was fine. It was quite interesting, to be honest, more than anything. Nice walks. You can go on nice walks. We went to the aquarium. I love aquariums with my whole heart. Like, I love the deep blue sea. Like, I just love the aquariums, but like I'm just too scared to go actually in the water, so I feel like I love it because I get to see everything behind glass, so I'm not scared. But I loved that, the aquarium. And then they have this like museum which is like right next to the aquarium, and you have a little look around the museum, and then you go up to the top and there's like this viewing platform where you can see all of New Orleans, which it was interesting because I learned a lot about New Orleans, but like the view, I was just like, what am I looking at? You know, like you can see the top of like the French Quarter and the city, but like it's not like New York where there's like this insane skyline, you know. But it was like really interesting to learn. New Orleans was fun, and I would definitely say go to New Orleans. It just wasn't really my favourite place. I think it was one of the times I felt the most unsafe. And I was with two boys and another girl, so like it wasn't like it was just me and Lily. Like there was a decent amount of us, and I still felt like the most unsafe in New Orleans. And I don't know, like Bourbon Street, like everyone said, is supposed to be like this really cool vibey place, but for us it really wasn't. It was just like tacky shops and dodgy bars. So yeah, I don't know if we just missed like the great time of year to go, but I don't know, some people loved it. Some of the people at after camp went, like, literally loved it, and I know other people love it, but for us, well, for me anyway, it was, I'm glad I've been, but I wouldn't rush to go back. So Zach and Kelly left us about 3 days in, and then Bill and I got our Airbnb, and then he went home a couple of days later, and then I flew down to Jacksonville, where I have one of my very, very good friends who I've known for, like, probably like 10 years now, I don't even know. She lives in Jacksonville in Florida. So I went and stayed with her for 2 nights, which was so much fun. By this point I was also like, I see my mum and dad in 2 days. It was so exciting as well because they were like, I don't know, like I just can't explain. Like I'd love to feel that kind of excitement again of like, oh my god, like I cannot wait to see them, tell them everything, show them everything. Like it's been 3 months. The thought of seeing my family after so long, like you can't explain that kind of excitement. But yeah, anyways, I went to Jacksonville, stayed there for 2 nights in her apartment that she has for college. She's so cool. Like she goes to a college in Jacksonville, and I just lived the college girl life for a day. Like it was so jokes. We had like a beach picnic, like we cooked some pizza, took us to the beach, which was like so wholesome. And then she showed me around her college, and I was like, oh my god, I want to go to college so bad. Got to go to Buc-ee's. Never been to a Buc-ee's before, guys, and it was kind of cool. Like, sorry, a gas station that has like an entire mall connected to it. Like, what is that all about? So yeah, that was super fun, and I got to meet some of her friends. Did a little bit of shopping in like Walmart, of course, or Target, I can't remember where we went. And she just kind of showed me around, introduced me to new things in Dunkin' that I'd never tried before. What? Like, take me back. I would move to America just for Dunkin', okay? Like, it's so much better than Starbucks. Don't even come for me. Starbucks is insanely overpriced. I'm not paying $5 for a goddamn cake pop that is 2 bites. Whereas in Dunkin', I can have a drink like this big that tastes delicious, and like mini bagels or everything bagels, you know what I'm saying, for like half the price. Starbucks, stop being so expensive. Anyways, rant over. Alex drove me down to Disney World, where I was meeting my parents. They were on their way, and I remember getting to Animal Kingdom Lodge. We always stay in Animal Kingdom Lodge when we go. So we have Disney Vacation Club. So I hadn't been in 5 years, and I just had this like overwhelming like emotion, but I just like, everyone was around me, so I was like, okay, keep it in. My parents are still on the aeroplane at this point. And I got there, my room wasn't ready because I was there early because Alex had sorority meetings. I was like, how epic is that? Anyway, so I get there and they're like, sorry, your room's not ready yet. So I just go and chill around the pool, and I immediately just start crying. And I'm like, not out of sadness, out of just like, I miss them so much, like I can't wait to see them. But like, I couldn't talk to them because they were on an aeroplane on their way to see me. So I just sat around the pool with like my backpack, my tote bag, because I just had so much stuff by this point that I just couldn't fit it in my bags. And where I'd just seen Alex and she drove me, I didn't have to worry about getting stuff back into a suitcase. So I just had all this stuff just around the pool, chilling, crying, looking like an absolute weirdo. And then I ended up FaceTiming my aunt and uncle, and I was just like, I just can't stop crying. And they were like, oh my god, like it's gonna be fine. And then I kind of was fine. And then my cousins, who are at the time, I think, I could be really wrong, Luna is 2, and then I think Arthur is 7 or 8, I can't remember. Joey, don't kill me, I'm sorry. But Arthur came on the screen, Luna was asleep, Arthur came on the screen, and then I was just like, I miss you, and then I started crying all over again, and then he started to get emotional, I'm like, oh god, I miss you. And then I was just an absolute mess. So then I was like, I'm gonna go see if our room's ready yet, like I literally like can't deal right now. And funnily enough it was. And then I got up to our room. We're very lucky, we have a lovely, very nicely sized room, so I started doing my laundry because I hadn't done laundry in so long. Like, I also had a grocery shop come, so I put the groceries away. And yeah, it was, I would just sat and waited, and my parents finally landed. I was tracking them, and I ran downstairs. There's a picture of me when I first saw my parents. My dad was like right there waiting, like, and my parents were coming up to surprise me. They didn't know that I had already like tracked them to the door, and I was like, oh my god, and like my mum and dad were crying, I was crying, and then we went up to the desk, and they were like, you okay? It's like family reunion, and then we come upstairs, and then I'm literally like going on and on, and my parents telling them everything, and we get a knock at the door, and it's a cast member, and she brings up this bag of like a photo album, a pen, like all these little random Disney bits and bobs from the gift shop. She's like, we heard there was a family reunion, we thought we'd just bring you a little gift, and I was like, stop, I'm gonna cry again. Yeah, and then we just spent 10 days in the parks, and I came home, and it was honestly probably the best month and a half of my entire life. I'm going to try and link everything below for you, so if you want to recreate it or you want like to stay in the same place as we did, then I'll try and link everything below. I'll link as much as I can. The best things we used were Skyscanner, Hostelworld and Booking.com and Airbnb. They're like my things you need to have. But yeah. My camera's flashing at me telling me it's gonna die, so I love you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know where you travelled after camp or what you're planning to do after camp, and I will see you guys soon. Bye!
Some kind of black hole in this house. Every person could be you.